Do you have someone in your life who consistently drains your energy, leaves you feeling anxious, or constantly undermines your happiness? Maybe it's a critical colleague, a hyper-negative friend, or a family member who thrives on drama. Dealing with people who bring negativity into your world is one of the toughest emotional challenges we face. You try to fix them, you try to ignore them, but the residue of their toxicity always seems to linger. These people don't just create temporary stress. They actually affect your physical health, your confidence, and your ability to pursue your own goals. Their behavior is a silent thief, stealing your peace of mind, one interaction at a time. The good news is that you have the power to stop the damage. In this crucial episode on KB Bluetree, we're giving you the practical strategies to identify, defend against, and neutralize toxic influences. You don't have to cut everyone out, but you absolutely have to stop letting them control your feelings. Welcome back to KB Bluetree, your source for the tools you need to build emotional resilience and master your environment. Today, we're tackling a topic that touches almost everyone: toxic relationships. First, let's define what toxic really means. Toxic person is anyone whose consistent behavior, whether it's manipulation, victimhood, chronic negativity, or constant criticism, leaves you feeling worse about yourself after every interaction. The relationship is fundamentally one-sided. It takes much more than it gives, and it actively undermines your well-being. It is important to remember that you cannot change a toxic person. Their behavior is a pattern rooted in their own deep-seated issues. Your only power lies in changing your response to them. Many of us fall into the trap of believing we can save or fix these individuals, only to end up exhausted and emotionally injured ourselves. Our goal here is not avoidance, though sometimes that is necessary, but strategic defense. We want to help you create emotional boundaries so strong that their negativity simply bounces off you. Recognizing the pattern is the first step toward reclaiming your power. Before we dive into the 4 essential steps for dealing with toxic people, please take a moment to hit the like and subscribe to KB Bluetree for more insightful content. We are here to help you build the strongest possible foundation for your life, and that includes mastering your relationships. Let's start by diagnosing the 2 biggest traps we fall into when interacting with toxicity. When we encounter toxic behavior, most of us fall into predictable patterns that actually empower the toxic person and leave us feeling defeated. We must first recognize these traps to break free. Trap 1. The emotional sponge. The first trap is becoming the emotional sponge. This happens when you absorb and internalize the toxic person's negative emotions, drama, or crisis. A classic example is the chronic victim, who constantly dumps their unsolvable problems on you. They aren't looking for solutions, they're looking for validation that the world is unfair and they are helpless. When you absorb this, you walk away feeling heavy, drained, and burdened by their issues. Your empathy, a strength, is used against you. The remedy to this is disengagement and active listening for solutions. If they start dumping, listen briefly, then immediately ask, "What is your plan for fixing this?" Or what specific action are you going to take next? This shifts the conversation from venting to accountability, which often short-circuits their emotional dump. If they resist offering a solution, you can politely end the conversation by saying you have to get back to work or move on. Trap 2. The logic negotiator. This occurs when you try to use rational arguments, facts, common sense, to change the mind of a manipulator, a narcissist, or a perpetually critical person. You are convinced that if they only see your point of view, they will become reasonable. Toxic people rarely operate on logic. They operate on need and emotion. Trying to argue with them only gives them exactly what they want: your attention and the opportunity to draw you into their endless cyclical debate. They will move the goalposts, twist your words, or simply deny facts. You must accept that you cannot win a logical argument against an illogical person whose goal is not truth, but control. Stop explaining and simply assert your limit. The 4-step boundary protocol. Once you recognize the traps, you need a firm, repeatable protocol to manage the interaction. This 4-step process helps you build and enforce emotional boundaries instantly. The first step is to calmly, internally identify and name the specific toxic behavior you are facing. Is it gaslighting making you doubt your reality? Is it guilt tripping? Is it chronic complaining? Naming the behavior strips away its power and objectivity. It moves the interaction from a confusing emotional swamp to a clinical scenario. When you recognize, that's gaslighting, you stop getting emotional and start treating it as a pattern you need to manage. This creates immediate emotional distance, keeping you out of the sponge trap. By refusing to engage with the content of their claim and focusing only on the process of their behavior, you maintain clarity. Step 2. Establish the physical distance. Whenever possible, establish immediate physical distance. Toxic behavior thrives on proximity and captivity, such as when you are trapped in a car, sitting next to them at a meal, or waiting on the phone. Physical space buys you vital seconds to gather your emotional composure and execute your boundary. If a conversation is starting to escalate or become negative, stand up. Say, I need to grab some water or I have to check on something. If you can't physically leave, change your posture by placing a folder or object between you or cross your legs firmly. Step 3. Use the fogging technique. This is the most effective psychological defense against chronic criticism and arguments. The fogging technique involves agreeing with the critic in part or in principle, but refusing to change your core behavior or engage in a debate. You essentially become an emotional fog they can't catch or push against. If a toxic person criticizes your new project, don't defend it. Say, that's one way to look at it. Or, I appreciate your input and I'll think about it. You've acknowledged their existence, but offered nothing to argue against. This non-engagement diffuses their need for conflict, forcing them to drop the subject because they get no emotional payoff from you. Fogging allows you to remain calm and indifferent. Step 4. Implement time and contact limits. The final and most powerful step is adjusting your exposure time. This is the containment strategy. You cannot control how they behave, but you have absolute control over the window of time you expose yourself to their behavior. If the person is required in your life, a relative or a coworker, strictly limit interactions to 15-minute intervals. Schedule meetings only when necessary and always have an end time. For more discretionary relationships, practice the slow fade. Respond to texts and calls slower. Don't initiate contact and decline vague invitations. This subtly reestablishes who controls the access to your life. Remember, low contact is high sanity. Reducing the frequency and duration of contact is the most powerful tool you have to protect your long-term energy. Success story: Teresa L. Teresa L. struggled for years with a profoundly toxic mother who was a chronic critic and guilt tripper. Every holiday gathering left Teresa emotionally exhausted, often resulting in severe anxiety for days afterward. Her mother's constant negative predictions about Teresa's career and relationship choices were beginning to erode. Teresa's confidence entirely, she kept falling into the logic negotiator trap, trying to justify her life choices. Teresa came to KB Bluetree and decided to implement the 4-step boundary protocol. First, she identified the behavior as guilt-tripping and chronic criticism. Next, she started practicing fogging. When her mother said, "You work too hard, you'll burn out," Teresa stopped arguing and simply replied, "That's a valid concern, Mom, but I'm managing it." No defense, no explanation. Crucially, Teresa implemented strict time limits. She switched from spending full weekends with her mother to scheduled, timed visits of exactly 2 hours, always planning an immediate, non-negotiable activity afterward. This external commitment gave her the courage to leave precisely on time. The transformation was dramatic. Within 6 months, Teresa reported that she felt light and peaceful after visits, and her anxiety was dramatically reduced. She realized the true power wasn't in changing her mother, but in fully controlling the access and duration of the interaction. Teresa L. successfully reclaimed her emotional energy and her confidence. You now have the tools to recognize and neutralize the toxic forces in your life. Dealing with these relationships is not a sign of weakness. It's an act of profound self-respect and courage. Your emotional energy is your most valuable asset. It's time to protect it fiercely. Don't fall into the traps of being the sponge or the negotiator again. Choose one protocol to practice today. Will you try fogging with a difficult person, or will you implement a time limit on your next draining phone call? Take control of your interactions now. Hit that like button if you are ready to set a strong boundary and protect your peace. Share this video with someone who needs this vital advice. And remember to like and subscribe to KB Bluetree for more insightful content that empowers you to master your relationships and your life. Tell us in the comments below, Which toxicity trap are you committing to avoiding this week? We hope to see you in the next video. Till next time, have a wonderful day.